Hey BookTube, it's Jackie. How's it going? If you're new to me, it's the first time you're seeing my face. Hello, what's up? My name's Jackie. I sit on my floor and I talk about books. So I hope that's why you're here because that's what's gonna be happening today. If you're not new to me, thank you for always tuning in and continued support. I really do appreciate it. So today for you, I have another recommendation video. This is in collaboration with 9 other ladies over here on YouTube, and I will link all of them in the down box below so you can go check all of them out. And our collab host, Beccie, over at FirstLadyReads, asked me to join this collaboration on April showers, or books that made me cry. And I said, fuck yeah, I'm always gonna sign up for this because she's my girl. I'm always gonna say yes. So without further ado, grab yourself a drink, have yourself a seat, make sure your tissues are ready, and let's get talk about the books that made me bawl like a baby. Okay, so let me just explain something right off the bat. I'm a crier. I cry at everything. I cry when I'm happy. I cry when I'm sad. I cry when I'm pissed off. I cry when I'm frustrated. I cry when I'm super fucking angry. I cry when I'm physically hurt. I am a crier, okay? Have been my entire life. I don't find it a sign of weakness because I feel like I'm literally showing you my raw emotions, and if you can't handle it, get fucked. So I cry. Okay, that's just how I am. And so when I was coming up with this list, there's a lot of books that made me cry, whether they shed a single tear, they made me sob like a baby, or they made me cry so hard I was kind of numb afterwards and I had nothing left to give. Turns out that's a lot of Sarah J. Maas books. When I was making this list, I found that I was putting a lot of her books on this list. So I decided to film this video and give you recommendations that aren't Sarah J. Maas. So excluding any Sarah J. Maas book, the books I'm about to tell you about are books that made me cry like a baby. But if you'd actually like to see what kind of effect her books had on me, I will link my playlist, my vlog playlist up here. I have quite a few vlogs of reading her books. You can see me melt down during Court of Mist and Fury. You can see me go completely numb during A Court of Wings and Ruin. And you can see me just visibly shake and freak the fuck out in Empire Storms and Kingdom of Ash and Tower of Dawn. So enjoy those. But these books, however, when I think about them, one of the parts that I remember the most is making me cry. It was one of the things that stuck out the most to me for some of these stories. So without further ado, let's get started. The first one I have here, and I literally put this in like every single recommendation video because it fits, because this book is stunning. It's almost damn near perfect. And it's literally my favorite book, and that is Diana Gabaldon's Outlander. I know if you've been following me at any point in time, you've seen this before. I rave about this book. This is one of my favorite books. But this book genuinely made me bawl like a baby. The first time I read it, the second time I read it, and any other point in time I've ever thought about it. It makes me cry. This is the story of Jamie Fraser and Claire Randall. Claire Randall literally falls back into time, into the 1700s during the Scottish upheaval. And she encounters a band of Scottishmen who try to protect her from a group of Englishmen, Black Jack Randall to be specific. And they do this by marrying her off to Jamie Fraser. Not only do we have blind acceptance on Jamie Fraser's part of Claire Randall and this blind acceptance of her on him, but at a point in time in this book, she has to make a choice. She has to decide if she wants to go back or stay. And this is the pinnacle that makes me cry. Her choice always makes me cry. It brings me to tears every fucking time. It's written amazing. The prose that Gabaldon uses just evoke so much emotion, and it literally just pulls it out of you. It's so hard to not cry. I've read this book multiple times, and it always makes me cry. Every single time, the same part. I know it's gonna fucking happen, okay? I know it's coming. I know. Still gonna bawl like a baby. Still do it. Because it's that well written. It's that well done. And I just have a great fucking time with this book. Now, this book is the start of a very long series. As you can see here, it's up here. And every single one of these books has made me cry at some point in time because they're just stunning examples of Diana Gabaldon's work, of her writing ability and her technique. She can pull things out of you that shouldn't be pulled out of you on the regular basis. I love this book, and if you've not read it, you should probably go read it because it's damn near perfect, if not perfect. So yes, I love this book. So I definitely had to go on a list of books that made me cry. The next book is actually the very first book I remember ever crying to in public, and that is Colleen McCullough's The Thornbirds. It looks like this. This is the saga of the Cleary family that spans 3 generations. We start off with poverty and struggles and Fiona and Patty Cleary and their 9 children, 8 sons and 1 daughter, Maggie, who we tend to follow a lot more than the rest of the family. And we encounter Father Ralph D. Bricassert, I think is how you say his name. He forms a odd attachment to Meggie and kind of fosters her and watches her grow up, but is always really connected to her. And as fortunes turn favorable, Meggie matures and she ends up distancing herself from this mutual romantic interest of Father Ralph to marry a man named Luke O'Neill, who really only married her for inheritance and treats her like shit. They have a daughter named Justine. And then some interesting events happen and we start to rekindle this budding romance between Father Ralph de Bricassert and Meggie. And that is the portion that made me cry. I remember reading this book for the first time when I was in the 8th grade. And it's the only time I ever read this book. I have refused to reread this book because of the memory attached to it. I don't want to ruin that memory. But I remember sitting in my 8th grade study hall, Mrs. Pearson's study hall, and reading the chapter of Dane's portion of the book. And I'm not going to tell you who Dane is because it will spoil the story for you. But I remember reading that and just being heartbroken. This was the first book I ever got attached to characters in, that I really remember rooting for characters, getting pissed off at characters, wanting characters to be together, even though it was societally not expected, societally not accepted at all. And I just wanted it so bad. I remember this was the first book that really sucked me in and consumed me. So when I was reading this portion of Dane, I lost my shit. I remember blubbering like a baby and just losing it. I could not stop crying. I got made fun of. People laughed at me, called me a crybaby, and I didn't fucking care. I did not care because I became attached. And I will never trade that experience. That is an experience that I look for in books, and this one gave it to me. My first real experience of getting attached to characters and wanting more and not wanting to let go. So this one is always a tearjerker. It was turned into a mini series, which I have also never watched. So I've never reread this book and I've never watched the mini series because I don't want to ruin that memory, that first core memory of getting attached to fictional characters, because I can never get it back. So I want to treasure it. But part of me really wants to reread this book to see if it still has the same oomph now that I have grown and matured, because obviously in 8th grade, I'm going to see a different story in this book than I did in the 8th grade. So yeah, but this is definitely a tearjerker, and it's a good one. It's definitely a good one. It's worth it. The next book I have to talk about is Love You Always by Lauren Lacey, and it looks like this. This is a book I just recently read. And this is the first installment to the Beverly Mills series, Love and Beverly Mills series. And this is about Jackson Sands and Parker Wayland. This is a second chance romance, childhood sweethearts. We have a lot of triggers in this, so do check the trigger page for this. We have alcoholism, depression, loss of a parent. We also have sexual assault. A lot of stuff. A lot of triggers. So definitely check your trigger page. But essentially what this is Parker Wayland and Jackson Sands. They have a love that doesn't mean I will love you forever, but what it means is I will love you through and in spite of everything. And after years of separation, Jackson and Parker return home to Beverly Mills and they try to give the relationship one last shot. This is the final shot and they're going to try like hell for it. The second chance romance between childhood sweethearts isn't always pretty or lighthearted, but it does showcase love's ability to sustain through loss, tragedy, and trauma. And we do see every single one of those things in this book. I was crying by page 15 in this book. Page 15. This book hit home really fucking hard. Really fucking hard. If you've ever had a relationship that you've ever had a second chance at, you will relate to this book. And you will relate in a way that I don't think you're expecting. When I was reading this book, I found myself doing some of the same things that Parker was doing and kind of seeing how it affected the other half, which I didn't get when I was going through that in my early 20s. I dated a young man and we had an on again, off again relationship for almost 5 years. And this reminded me so much of that. Just the back and forth, constant digging at each other, constant trying to one-up each other, just the immaturity of it. And it just reminded me of all of it. And it's just, looking back as a 35-year-old woman, looking back on, I'm like, that was not fucking worth any of it. If I just would have shut the fuck up and listened to him, maybe things could have been different. Were they supposed to be different? I don't think so, because I'm happy where I am now. But this book did make me think about him and remind me of what I saw when I was younger. And it reminded me of that time, especially in the first part of the book, where we're seeing the childhood romance develop and fall. That was the part that hit me the most, because it was so similar to my actual experience. I mean, it was damn near my story. And it just, it hit hard. It hit really fucking hard. But this book was a ride. It was well done. I had a great fucking time with this. I have a full book review on this book, and I will link it here for you guys. You can go check it out. There is some great sex scenes. Definitely have a kink unlocked with this book, but the emotion behind this book is what I really recommend for this, because this is not just a moment in time. This is a lifetime of building and developing a romance and trying things and it not working, and then trying again and rebuilding and going back to the drafting board and trying again. Just the back and forth. It's a lifetime of it. And they never gave up. And that was one of the coolest parts about this book, is they never gave up on each other. And it was awesome. I had a great time with this, even though I was bawling my eyes out majority of it. Definitely one for the books. And she's coming out with a sequel very, very soon. So we get to see how the friends interlink, because there's also a really good friend core group in this book as well. Her circle of friends, their circle of friends is phenomenal, but definitely this was a tearjerker because it hit so close to home. If you've never had a second chance romance go back and forth, then it might not hit you as hard. But if you have, and you want to see what maybe you did, how it could have affected the other party, just for your own perspective to kind of grow and learn about yourself, definitely this is something special. And I had a great fucking time with it. But go check out that review. I go into full in-depth of all the triggers, what works, what doesn't work, the spice rating, everything. But yeah, go check out that review. It'll also be linked in the down box below. The next book that made me cry was Lori Wick's Where the Wild Rose Blooms. This is the first installment to the Rocky Mountain Memories series. And this is the very first book I ever read that had a title character name of Jackie. And I picked it up freshman year in high school, I think for probably a book report. And I remember bawling my eyes out. I read it over a Christmas break and crying incessantly at the ending. There is a moment that happens in this story that is so heart-wrenching and so capitulating to our character of Jackie that it knocks you off your socks because you don't see it coming. There's nothing leading up to it that says that this is going to happen. And then just the struggle afterward that she has to go through to accommodate what has now happened to her, and how to basically relive her life, relearn her life, and relearn her romances, and her loves and her relationships with people in general, not just the love interest of Clayton, but just her family and her friends in general, which she doesn't have many of because she's kind of standoffish, which I can kind of relate to. At least I did in high school when I read this book. I related to her a lot. And I remember just crying my eyes out and hoping and crossing my fingers like, please let this be a happy ending. Please, 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 please. I wanted it so bad to be a happy ending. And we do have an HEA, but it's a fought for HEA. It definitely is fought for, and it packs a punch. It does. This is also Christian historical fiction. If you are looking for something along those routes, there's very, very little spice. I mean, we have some kisses. That's it. Other than that, that is it. Small town, prairie life. And Jackie is the second eldest of 5 daughters. So she has also all those relationships to reformulate after this major event happens. So definitely one for the books. I've reread this book. I gave it 5 stars when I first read it, and I reread it recently last year, and I gave it 5 stars again. It's phenomenal, and I do highly recommend it. I've recommended it in multiple videos. I'm a big fan of this book. Definitely a big fan of this one. The next book that made me cry was Paulina Simon's The Bronze Horseman. This is the first installment to the Bronze Horseman trilogy. This is about Alexander and Tatiana during World War II. Yeah, World War II. Alexander is part of the Red Army and Tatiana becomes a nurse. And it ends with a cliffhanger. And we do have 2 other installments that are out. The trilogy is complete, so you can complete it. But this first installment, that cliffhanger, Jesus fucking Christ. Okay, so this book is 790 something pages. Okay, almost 800. Yeah, like almost 800 pages. You need every fucking page to really get the whole scope of this story. The world building is on point in this story. The character development is on point in the story. The romance is fucking amazing. The spice is great. But it's the emotional backstory that Paulina Simons gives our characters. She builds their backstory so well that you have a very clear idea of where they're coming from when they start to build their romance. So you understand very clearly why they do the things that they do and act the way that they do and the way that things kind of unfold. It's very, very clear cut. And so it makes it for a very emotionally draining read. I felt drained after reading this. And this 800 pages, I finished almost 400 of them in a night. I started reading one night, and the next thing I know, it was like 5 o'clock in the morning. I was like, I gotta fucking go to work. Shit. I do have a full book review on this. I'll link it up here in the corner for you guys. It's back in the day, back in 2016 when I first started my channel. So it's not the greatest. But I definitely bawled my eyes out on this book, and that cliffhanger just ripped my heart out and made me stare at it. I have yet to complete the series because I don't know if I can handle it. To be perfectly honest, I do really need to finish the series. I should probably reread this book because it's been a while. But it's phenomenal, and just everything is on point. You feel everything, you taste everything, you smell everything, you hear everything. The description in this book makes it. And because of that heavy description and that heavy buildup, when those emotional scenes happen, you feel like you're actually in their shoes and you are experiencing it. You feel the ecstasy and you feel the pain of the loneliness and the heartbreak and the torment and the longing that our couple goes through. And it's just fucking fire, dude. It's so fucking good. I had such a great time with this one. Highly recommend this one. And the last book that made me cry is this little guy. This is Sierra Simone's Midnight Mass. Now, this is the follow-up to Priest. You do have to read Priest to actually understand this, but Priest did not make me cry. Frustrated me, yes. Because of the ending. It's not the ending that I wanted. And this little novella is a buildup on the ending that I didn't want in that book. So for this thing to literally destroy me in a fucking afternoon, I had to talk about it. So we follow Father Tyler Bell, who has officially left the priesthood, and Poppy. They are married. Father Tyler Bell, or Tyler Bell now, is pursuing his PhD. And so he's right in the final edits of it. We're talking like the final week before his defense of his PhD. So super focused, hyper-focused. She's working on some kind of gala thing, so hyper-focused. And they're kind of losing touch with each other. Because as you learn in Priest, a lot of their conversation is through sex. They don't really talk a lot. They have a lot of fucking hot sex. And that's where they convey a lot of their emotions. And this honeymoon stage is starting to back off a lot. And we start to see some of the cracks and the fissures in our story, and we really start to see Father Tyler Bell kind of come to his own and say, don't tell me I don't love you. I fucking left my church for you. I left my church for you. The only thing I've ever done well, I left for you. And we have that fucking argument. We have that fight. But that's not what got me. there's something that happens with Poppy. She loses something. And there's a point where she's in a church, and she's looking at a nativity scene. And she says, "It's my fault." And Father Tyler Bell in his head thinks, "No, it's not your fault. It's me. You lost this because of what I did." And I know what that feels like. This one hit so close to home. I cannot think about this book without crying because of how much it hit. I mean, I read this in an afternoon. I think I read it in an afternoon, and it obliterated me. I was not expecting this little baby book. This thing is not even 100, it's 175 fucking pages. Okay, 175 pages. And the last 50 just demolished everything about me. I was going through things in my personal life, making decisions based off of things that I have done in my past and having to move forward. And that line that she's suffering because of what I did. I know what that feels like and that burden is, and it sucked. It sucked to have it in fucking black and white. So this book seriously hit the emotional fucking heartstring for me. I don't know if it will have that same effect with other people, but it sure as shit did for me. And it was beautiful, though. It was so well done. Sierra Simone can tell a fucking story. She can, but I do have to say that this book ends with hope. It doesn't end sad. It ends with hope, and that makes it okay for me. So those are the books that made me cry, guys. Those are the books, besides Sarah J. Maas, that made me cry, that I think you guys should take a look at if you're in a crying kind of mood, because sometimes you just want to fucking cry. Sometimes you just want to cry it out. So if you pick up any of these recommendations, let me know. And again, all of my collab buddies will be linked in the down box below. Please go check out all their videos. I guarantee you're going to find some great recommendations in there. Based off of some of the people that are in there, I know for a fact you are not going to be steered wrong with any of them. So I hope you enjoyed this, and let me know if you pick up any of these. I'd love to know if the same moments got you in the feels just like they got me. So I will see you guys all soon with another video. Bye, guys.